What a day on Wall Street. Things just seemed too calm. The markets were slowly creeping higher. I began to tell you guys that there was some stealth selling over the course of this week and that we had to prepare for a breakdown potentially in that wedge. I also highlighted in yesterday's video that it made sense for us to come back and do some bouncing. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the moving averages. We've simply soared above them for too long. The reason they're called moving averages is because when you get too far away from the moving average, it's like a magnet, it begins to pull it back. Well, where is the price going to get pulled back to on the S&P 500? Well, we're far away from everything, the 20, the 50. We've got a lot of room to pull back on these markets. And actually, and here's the thing that might surprise a lot of you, if we came back and bounced off the 20 EMA on the S&P 500, that would mean that the market is doing very well, showing great strength in a clearly defined offensive bull move. So you got to be aware that prices don't always go up. Everything needs a little bit of room to move. And as I was saying, we were entering into this area on the S&P 500 that was compressing, getting tighter and tighter and tighter. That never breaks to the upside. It tends to break to the downside. Now, I'm not even going to attempt to predict what happens this coming Monday. We're going to follow the charts because with the news, opportunities, and catalysts that are ahead for us, really the market can do whatever it wants. We're going to take the trade on the breakout, which is when the price moves above, or the breakdown. I'm going to go over some plays that have been doing very well. I'm going to talk to you guys about the hottest trade this week was with Oracle that just seemed to be a true rocket ship. This thing was going straight for the moon. I'm going to give you the next breakout and breakdown for Oracle. And I'll tell you, it's still got power to the upside. And so the up move isn't over. And I'm going to tell you something else about why stocks like Oracle continue to run is because when people think that the price is getting unjustified and too high and too far away from the moving averages, they begin to short it and then they get wiped out. It turns into a bear slaughter, a bear trap, and price drives up even higher. That's what causes it to eventually get to the point where the candle gives us a wick. The candles that we have on Oracle, and I'll get into that chart in just a minute, but you know how I love to share these things with you. The candles that we've got right now have no wicks on the top, and the wicks express the emotion of the market. And right now, the fact that we have a bald candle on Oracle, a flat-topped candle, tells us this thing is going to keep going up until somebody decides to sell, and Wall Street's yet to hit the sell signal on Oracle. I can't wait to go over that chart with you guys. So yeah, Iran suspended their nuclear negotiations with the US. One of the things that came out of this event here in the Middle East is that oil spiked. And let's talk about that for a minute because oil spiking isn't good for a ever watching hawkish Fed, because one of the things that's allowed inflation to come down is that oil's gotten cheaper, gasoline costs, transportation costs have gone down for a lot of goods and products, and as a result, we've seen inflation cooling. But if oil spikes back up, it's going to put pressure on prices across the board. Companies are going to have to begin to account for that cost of business, and we're going to see more inflation rising, and the Fed knows it, and the Fed is going to be less dovish going into next week. I can guarantee you that. Quick comment on the China-US trade war, something that I just want to take a step back and make sure everybody's on the same page regarding. We haven't suffered the consequences of this trade war yet. As soon as those tariffs were announced, people began to load up on products from China. And that was actually a huge boost to Chinese sales. And that was before a lot of the tariffs hit. And the fact is that Trump has been kicking the tariff costs down the road so that really through this whole event, those costs have really not been absorbed, and the cost of the trade war hasn't really been absorbed by the economy. The whole thing has really been a panic fest so far, because you got to remember when Apple found out about this tariff war, and they make a lot of phones in China, they had every phone possibly shipped, manufactured that they could get dropped into the US. Well, that boosted profits in China, and a lot of companies did that. They loaded up on what they normally buy, and that caused profits to go up. And then because the inventories were so high, Companies wanted to move that product, and so they weren't raising prices, they were lowering prices so they could take advantage of the high inventory and begin to push product out the door. So far, the fear of the tariff war has actually lowered inflation and actually increased profits here in the US and in China. Now, that might be counterintuitive, but that really is the result. The thing that could be a problem is what would happen in the months ahead if the deal doesn't get worked out. But for the time being, we had this beautiful environment where the cost of oil was very low. Everybody was scrambling to load up on products. And because they had high inventory, they weren't raising prices. So that brought inflation down. And it turned into a little bit of a Goldilocks environment, which is why we're near all-time highs right now. I just wanted you guys to keep that all in perspective. And this all could still skirt a recession or a huge crash, depending on how quickly these deals get worked out and the fear of these tariff wars gets removed from the market. We could go back to a hot, uptrending market. Do I think it'll all roll out that way? I'm not necessarily convinced of it, but let me take a quick minute and remind you guys of my prediction for 2025 because I haven't changed it yet. I said that for the month of May, we would go up and not down. I said for the first week of June that we would go up and not down. And I said that as we got into June and July, we would likely move sideways. We would have to process this huge, powerful move higher, and we would see rotation. And I'm going to tell you right now that the fact that Oracle is popping is part of that rotation story. Big tech, not all of it's doing well. We see that Apple's been under a lot of negative pressure. It's been a legacy investment position for a lot of people, and money's been coming out of Apple. Where are they putting it? Well, they're trying to put it in other historically strong companies. Oracle's been the place of choice. It's been the preferred place for people to take money and to rotate it out of more risky growth stocks and put it into something that's very stable. Oracle's been absolutely crushing it because of that dynamic. All right, let's try to get into the depth of this video. Before I get into some of the charts I want to show you and some of the new trade alerts I'm going to give you today, this is the Stocks with Josh show. Thank you for joining me. It was a beautiful week on Wall Street. We live traded in the Stocks with Josh Discord today in my VIP community. And right out of the gate, I hooked us a 75% winner on Tesla popping to the upside. It was an absolutely fun and profitable trade to get for the family. Now, the truth is, we could have all gone home. After that, Spy Lord gave the family a nice little SPY put and drop from the top. And then after that, I took a small little position that I got in and out of. But if you participated in that first trade out of the gate, it was a massive win. Let me know in the comments section how you did. Let everybody know how you did. If you guys didn't crush it today on Wall Street, then you're welcome to come and join me in my pro trading community. It's not just trading. I do a ton of charting in these sessions. It's worth showing up for that. There's teaching, there's classes, and there's different crowned traders focusing on different parts of the market. I got Stock Brother in there doing penny stocks. I've got Tribal Trades in there talking crypto 24/7. We got a lot going on. Come check it out. Okay. Let's talk about another dynamic. The VIX is currently above 20. Until it gets back below, we need to be on heightened alert for more pullback. We're not safe until the VIX calms down and gets back below 20. So we got to go into this next week on heightened alert and be prepared for moves to the downside on Wall Street. Guys, be aware of that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Tesla. My call on Tesla in my last video was nearly perfect. Nobody loves my technicals more than me, right? I told you that if we lost 318, that it would flush down to 309 and that it would likely pop there. In the charts, that's exactly what happened. It came down to 309 and it popped hard. So if you've been prepared for that move, there was a lot of profit as it moved to the upside. We got a little piece of that in the live trade session. I also started that live trade session early because I knew that it was getting ready to pump. Why did Tesla pump today? Well, the Trump-Elon feud has cooled down, and Elon has removed some of his harsh tweets from the history of the X platform, stepping back from those. It was a battle he couldn't win. It was the only sensible thing to do, and he should never have begun the fight with the president because, as I said in a previous video, the president is in the seat of power. You can hate the guy, but you have to respect the position. I also have to walk back a comment myself. I got a previous CEO's resignation confused with the resignation of the recent CEO, and his reason for leaving was not as dramatic as him doubting the success of Optimus. However, I personally have begun to doubt the success of Optimus. I think after this fiasco between Trump and Elon, my rose-colored glasses came off and my money eyes glasses came on, and I've become more concerned as an investor that we see incredible results. My patience and willingness to wait on Elon, who always promises things, gets a little bit late, and what he promises, he falls short a little bit from hitting. I'm getting tired of that. We need to see this guy hit home runs out of the park from this point forward. Personally, I think that I feel the same way a lot of other people feel. Now, we have a June 22nd robo-taxi launch, which everybody's going to have their eyes on, and it better be successful. And he needs to be putting out more cars than anybody's expecting, and he needs to be giving higher guidance than people are anticipating. All right, in addition to that, the other factor that drove Tesla stock higher today was some positive analyst headlines. Goldman Sachs and Wedbush boost their projections, highlighting robotaxi and AI strategy. I'm in more of a prove it to me stage, but let's go look at the Tesla chart. I'm going to give you guys the same exact technical that I gave you in my last video, and that's how important I believe it to be. Let's go look at the Tesla chart real quick. First of all, I want to highlight to you the prediction that I made, just because I told you if we lost 318 that we would pop off 309. We did that. These are my trade setup lines. We took price at the open for a push up and made beautiful 75% right there, but there was a lot of money to be gained. You could have taken each of these levels to the upside and they would have paid you all day long. These are the trade setups that I put in the Stocks with Josh Discord every day. But let me show you what we need to be on the watch for in the days ahead. I want to remind you of what I said in yesterday's video. I said I see this very powerful descending wall of resistance that's formed on Tesla price action. And you can see that every single candle that's come up against it has been pushed back down. And this was a pretty strong attempt on some good reviews at the moment that tried to get over that level. It didn't. And the last time that Tesla price action did this, ultimately it got squeezed underneath this 50, which it's being squeezed right now underneath the 50. That's going to align with 309. And I'm telling you guys that if we lose 309 again, we're going to be coming much lower. We're going to make a lower low, probably here between 250 and 260. And so I want you guys to keep your eye on those levels. And so let me be very clear. If we lose 309 again, we're going to come down beneath those moving averages, and that's going to cause a flush in price. And we're going to go beneath 300 and down beneath 290, 280, 270, 260, and possibly 250. It's going to take a lot to push the price of this stock higher. And let me tell you where it would have to go back on the offensive right now. Because here's what I'm telling you. Tesla's clearly on the defensive, and it's been on the defensive for a while, and it's getting the offensive team, which are the sellers, they're pushing the ball all the way back to the bulls' end zone. That's what I see in the charts. So to be on the offensive, price has to actually get above 360. I know that's a big high number, but it's got to get all the way above 360 to continue a clearly defined uptrend. We're not in an uptrend. We're in a downtrend. We're on defense. Everybody needs to take note of that because remember, you want to trade the trend. It's the first discipline. The trend is your friend till the end. All right. That's a little bit of a bearish story. Let's talk about what's been working, what's been popping, what's been hot, and we've got to transition to orcl. Absolutely hot winning play. This had its best day or its best week since 2001. That's a 24-year record broken today. Some analysts are saying, even after it has rocketed to the skies, some analysts are saying there's an additional 70% upside potential for this stock. Whew, that's a lot. So what's going on? Why is it so popular right now? Well, I hinted to it before. I think a lot of that Apple money that legacy Apple money is looking for a new home, a more secure place, and they've chosen Oracle right now. There's three reasons why Oracle is booming right now. One, it's AI infrastructure boom. This is an area where they're thriving and they're able to make a lot of profits. They've also had an unbelievable earnings beat with raised forward guidance. You know how Wall Street loves to hear about how tomorrow is going to be better than today. And then the third reason, which is the one I've given you a couple times, rotation into defensive stocks. People that are wanting to lock in profits on growth stocks are wanting to put it into a stock where there's still growth potential, but a company that's considered a legacy company. Oracle is just fitting the bill right now. Price has exploded higher, and for the most part, all of the momentum indicators are still pointing straight up. In this situation, you do not want to guess the top. I've used some traditional charting tools to determine where price action might be shooting to. One of them is called a fib price extension. I'm going to give you guys the potential targets that Oracle could hit in the coming days. But I don't want you to take away from this that you should buy now with the expectation of these prices getting hit. Just like every other play, I'm going to give you the breakout and the breakdown scenario, because this thing could at some point hit a wall, reverse, and pull back with the rest of the market. Remember, the market can remain bullish on the S&P, on Oracle, on Meta. If it pulls back and bounces off of the 10 or even the 20, that's considered a stock that's healthy and trending higher. That pullback can be a lot of money for people if they buy in without a game plan. I'm going to give you a game plan today. So right now, the price is in exploration and there's no overhead resistance. There's really no momentum fading. However, there is bearish divergence. You can't expect to move this strong and for it not to be slowing down. As we've gotten closer to the top, the momentum up has been slowing down, but it's still pushing through. So let's go check out the chart and I'll give you the exact game plan. Okay, we're looking at the daily chart. I want you to acknowledge these massive volume nodes below. I'm going to tell you the only way these volume nodes are created like this is through institutional investment. Institutions have decided to roll billions of dollars into Oracle. I do want to point out this cautionary tale about how far away we are from moving averages. Right now, we've got a moving average up. I believe this is the 20. Yep, it's the 20. And this thing will eventually have to come back and bounce off of the 20, right? It could go sideways and it could give the 20 some time to catch up. But the fact is that if you want to be a wise investor, you don't buy things when they're up in the sky miles away from the moving average. You have to wait till they touch them again. Now, having said that, you can see that I've got some beautiful trend lines marked on the chart. If we can get above 218, that's going to be a signal of a move higher to 233. Now, there are some other resistances between 218 and 233, but the way this thing is moving, this is my third target. And if you get into the Discord, you'll get all of my technicals on Oracle. Similarly, if you want to take this to the downside and you're feeling like it's a rocket ship that eventually has to come home, don't short this too early, because this thing next week could pop all the way up to 233. Okay, so you just need to be aware, just because it's hot and just because it's moved doesn't mean the move is over. So if you are wanting puts, the breakdown for puts is below 205 and the target becomes 190. That's your trade setup. We'll find out here over the course of the next week if I'm right on the money, and maybe I'm right on the money like I was right on the money on Tesla. Let's go look at one other chart and talk about the technicals that you were given. I always want you to screenshot these because they prove to be pretty valuable if you're into these stocks and if you're investing or trading them. Let's go look at Circle real quick. This has been a hot one, guys. I've talked about all week long. Circle, rocket ship, okay? I talked about this the other day when it was right here. And I said, guys, if we lose 114.50, we're going to come back and tag 105. Look at that. Perfect technicals. We got another bounce here. And again, I told you then that I didn't think the move would be over. I said I thought that we'd make a double bottom and we'd make a rocket ship and we would shoot back up. Well, you can use each of these trend lines as entries. Any of these trend lines could have been good entries for a move to the upside. And the bounce off of 105, that was another potential entry. And we've come all the way back here, very close to 138. This thing is on an absolute heater right now. Let me know in the comments if you made some money. Those trend lines that I gave you will continue to print money. If we pull back, it's going to pull back to 125. That's a potential that I would watch for another area where it could bounce. I told you that this thing would continue to run for as long as Bitcoin was climbing. And I've told you about Bitcoin that I see Bitcoin and the alts as bullish right now. I believe that we're still going to see a move to the upside that's yet to get exhausted. However, I also believe that that move isn't going to go as far as many people are expecting it to go. It's definitely on watch. I'll try to do a all crypto summit video here soon for you guys. Let me know in the comments section what you want me to talk about, what stock you want me to chart, and what stock you think I shouldn't be ignoring right now because it's just going to make anybody who's in it a ton of money. I want to hear from you guys. I appreciate all of you guys joining me. I thank you for watching this video. Hit the like and subscribe to get the next hot play. Appreciate each and every one of you. Peace and blessings. Have a wonderful weekend.